Um, something else I was going to mention, but I can't think of it now. Exodus 16. Oh, I know what it was. So the question was asked last week, are we still on track as far as where we're supposed to be through the Bible? And the answer is yes. The 80th message was what we did last week, and that's exactly what we were supposed to be on. So somehow, some way, we're on track. That just means I have to live another 24 years. So I am too, but I wouldn't mind getting through the whole thing. But huh? Yeah, it is coming Tuesday. Y'all didn't hear about that? Oh yeah, we got to prepare for that, don't we? There was a guy I was talking to at school the other day about that, and he was like, his friend of his, their church, they're all about the Book of Revelation, and that was their date that they said is Tuesday. So, everybody ready? Huh? Oh yeah. That's the gospel according to TikTok right there. Yeah. So how was that? Oh, we missed this one verse. It's next week. Okay. Anyway, you know what? I know for a fact, 100% fact, it's closer now than it was yesterday. I'm always right. Huh? Yeah, I'm okay with Tuesday too, but I'd be okay if it happened now. No? All right. Well, we keep going then. Exodus 16. We've gone through the first 15 chapters here, obviously, and we're up to the point where, if you remember the last time, one of the things that the people of Israel at this particular time, they're complaining, right? You brought us out here to die. We don't have anything to drink. And so then what happens here is in Exodus chapter 16, I titled this one, The Lord Provides, because what's going to happen is the Lord's going to provide for them here while they're in the wilderness. And we'll see some of those things as we go through here. So Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. We'll read a couple verses here and then we'll get started. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel at even, Then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to study it, to read it, to learn from it, to learn about you, to understand that you are trustworthy in all manner of life, and that the promises that you've made specifically to us in this particular dispensation, that we know that those will come to pass, because we can see that you are trustworthy throughout Scripture. And as we see you taking care of the nation of Israel in this time, we know that the things that you've promised to them are coming to pass, and we know that you will also do the stuff for us that you've promised to us. We thank you for this day. We thank you for your word, and we thank you most of all for Jesus Christ, and it's in his name we pray. Amen. Now, what we start off here, and again, we're in this stage where they're still going through. They're in my Bible, it's got like different stages. Like back in chapter 14, verse 29, it says redemption by power, the 4th stage of the journey. Here we're over in the 7th stage of the journey, hunger. You can do with it what you wanted on that stuff. But what do we find out here is they're out in the wilderness, and what is it that Israel says over here? And you notice there, it's in the verse 1, it says, And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children Israel came into the wilderness of sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. Now, that right there gives us an idea of how far we are from whenever they came out of Egypt. God said that this is what? The first month, right? So that's when their calendar starts, is that day. And what did we find out is there's a particular day that they had the Passover. There was a particular day that they had the Feast of Unleavened Bread and all the things that had to do with that stuff. Here, where we are in chapter 16, is we get a timeline of what's going on. Here we're at the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt, right? So we could actually create a timeline of this if we wanted to. I'm sure there's tons of other people that's done this before, but you could actually create a timeline for this. And if you notice there, you've got the first month. First month on the 15th day is when they had the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? They started doing all that from the 15th to the 21st. Here you're the 15th day of the second month. So you're exactly a month later. They're over here in the wilderness in this particular place. And notice in verse 2 it says, "And the whole congregation, the children of Israel, murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness." Now, hold your place there and go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 10. And we've talked about these things in other lessons, but I just want to let you kind of see these things, how they're connecting. And of course, there's a specific reason why Paul is bringing this up in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, because in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, what the folks in Corinth are doing is they're murmuring. And he's saying, don't be like the people of Israel. Should the people in Corinth learn from what was taking place with the nation of Israel back there? Can we learn from what was taking place with the children of Israel back there? Do we take a look at that and say, well, God's going to provide us manna and water? No. But what is it that we find out is God's going to do what? He's going to provide everything that we need, right? So instead of getting caught up in the flesh, because that's what they were doing, and that's why Paul's bringing this up over here in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, is he's saying quit trying to follow after the flesh and follow after what God says, right? In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1 says, "Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did eat all the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ." Now, did every person in Israel, did they all have the same spiritual meat? Did they all have the same spiritual drink? Also, didn't they also have the same physical meat and the same physical drink? They did, right? Now, the physical stuff was provided because of the spiritual, but when we take a look at these things, did God provide everything that they needed as they were coming out? Yes, right? Verse 5 says, "But with many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness." Now, what's interesting about that, and we've talked about this on Wednesday nights with Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ is baptized, he comes up out of the water, and what is it that God the Father says? "This is my beloved Son." It's not where it stops, right? "In whom I'm well pleased." Now, one of the things you start thinking about is, and we've talked about this before, Jesus Christ lived his life in complete total dependency to what God's Word said, every step of the way. Here, that's the opposite of what these people are doing. And verse 5 says, "But with many of them," and I like the fact that it says many of them. He's not saying all of them, right? So there's a fraction of people there that are actually doing this. He says, "But with many of them, God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness." Now, what part of it had them overthrown is what? They're following after the flesh. Those are the ones that are sitting up there, and we'll see this in a moment. They're the ones that's over there murmuring, saying, "It had been better if you just left us in Egypt than to bring us out here and die," right? Verse 6, "Now these were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day." You can put next to that Numbers 25:9. We'll come and take a look at that one day. "Fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as common is to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. I speak as to the wise men, judge ye what I say. Now, what Paul's doing is he's taking them back there. He's taking the folks in Corinth back to this particular event in life, in history. And he says, just as these folks were murmuring, so then what does that tell me about the folks in Corinth? They have to be able to have what? Huh? Okay, they wouldn't have to have a sign, but what would the folks in Corinth need in order to be able to go back and figure this stuff out? They needed the scriptures, right? They needed to have a copy of scripture to be able to say, okay, what is it that Paul's talking about? If Paul's telling me about the people that were baptized under Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and I can go through and read this stuff and I can find this stuff out, they have to have a copy of the scriptures to be able to go back and read what we're reading in Exodus chapter 16 right now. Right? So they would have had a copy of it, and they would be able to go back there and read and see, and then they would be able to say like we do, how in the world can you not believe in God after all the things that they've done? Now again, what did we talk about last week is what you see isn't the issue, it's what the words on the page say, right? And they actually had the scriptures so they could go back there and do that. They go back and look at those things and they say, man, I should learn from their mistakes and not do the same thing that they're doing. I should recognize the fact that God has prepared everything for me. He's given me everything. The places. He's given me a home in heaven. He's given me His life, and He's given me everything that I need. He's completely and totally equipped me to live this life. And what I need to do is quit trying to do it myself and let Him work through me, specifically His Word, right? And so then what Paul's doing is he's referring them back to this event in Exodus chapter 16. And what is it that we see there in verse 2, Exodus 16:2? It says, and the whole congregation of children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Now, here it says the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat to the full. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So here you've got the children of Israel. And of course, we talked last week about what's the difference between being a child and a man is how is it that children think? Like children. They're constantly thinking about what? That's mine. Give me. I need. I want. I don't have everything that I need. I see this stuff all the time. You got a kid that has plenty of food. Parents drive a fantastic car. They live in a big old house and all this stuff. And all they can do is complain about, well, I don't have this. It's like, that's the mindset. So what's the mindset of and it's important to see, he's not saying it's the nation of Israel. He's saying it's what? The children of Israel. And it's not the little kids. He's talking about adults who are acting and thinking like children. Right? And we talked about last week when Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13 about when I became a man, I put away childish things. I stopped thinking like a child. I stopped acting like a child. I stopped making decisions like a child. That's what it's almost like, when you go to a grocery store, all the candy bars, they're at kids' eye level at the register for a reason. Because the kids get there and like, can I get I want to get it? Because and they're brightly colored and they design them that way, right? It's the same thing with the sugary cereals and all that stuff. Where's the sugary cereals in the aisles? Bran Flakes are up top. I know, because that's what I get. Shredded wheat, which I don't know why anybody would want to eat insulation, but whatever. Do you? Well, It's okay. There you go. There you go. But all the kid stuff's a little bit lower, right? Brightly colored. Anyway, you see that stuff. They know what they're doing, right? And so then what happens is the kid sees it and like, oh, I want this. No, you can't have it. Oh, I want this one. Can't have it. Oh, I want this one. And then eventually it's like, okay, you just pick one, right? Because you're just tired of hearing them say it. But then they do. And anyway, I could go on with that analogy all day. But that's what they're doing, right? You have the children of Israel. What are they saying? It had been better if we stayed in Egypt and died. It would have been better for us to have stayed in Egypt, working as slaves, working extra hard, and getting absolutely nothing. But what did we have? We had food and we had water. It's like it would have been better off if you left us back there. Well, who was providing them the bread and the water? Egypt was, right? Out here, what is it that we find out? Verse 4 says, Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. So God says, I'm going to give them a certain amount of bread every day. They're going to go out and they're going to get that particular amount of bread every day. And the purpose of it is to do what? To see if they actually walk with him. Right? That's what he's doing it for, right? Verse 5, And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Now, question. Why in the world do you think that he would say, I'm going to give you extra on the 6th day, and I want you to gather enough, twice as much as you get normally daily? Because they're going to rest on the Sabbath. So he's starting to establish these things with the children of Israel, right? And that's what he's going to do. Notice in verse 6, And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel at even, that ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And again, we look at this and we can say, why couldn't you figure this out before? But we would have done the same thing. They've seen all the things that God's done all the way through, and this is the thing that they're going to believe. Like, okay, we finally got some bread. Now I'm going to believe, right? And of course we know they don't. But notice in verse 7, And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, for he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that ye murmur against us? Now, there's a couple things here. Who are they murmuring against? The Lord. And you see there he says, and in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. How many times have they seen that already? Multiple times. All right, we talked about the clouds and the fire and all that stuff. They've seen this multiple times. And in the morning then you shall see the glory of the Lord, for he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that ye murmur against us? So who is it that they're actually fussing to? Is Aaron and Moses, but who are they fussing about? The Lord. And what's interesting is in spite of their murmurings against him, what's God do? He still provides. Right? Verse 8, And Moses said, This shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. And Moses spake unto Aaron, Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he hath heard murmurings. And it shall come to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. Now, what should they expect when they see the glory? Remember back in verse 7, he says, In the morning when you shall see the glory of the Lord, for he that heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what's going to happen is he's going to provide for them, right? So, verse 10, And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass, I love that part, and it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay around about the host. So, I love that part in verse 13. It says what? And it came to pass. Just as God said, that at even, what happens? He promised you'd have flesh to eat. What do they have? Quail. They have flesh to eat.
The host is like everybody, right?
So, yeah. So, and it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. In the morning the dew lay round about the host. Now, verse 14. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna. They recognize exactly what it is. They say, It is manna. For they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. So what is it that God told Moses and Aaron to go tell the congregation of the children of Israel is what? In the evening you're going to have meat. In the morning you're going to have what? Bread. In the evening, what did they get? Quail. Morning, what did they get? Bread. The manna. So when you look at that, what should they be able to recognize? God's provided. Even though we're complaining, God's provided. And you think, at this particular time, do they have the law yet? No, we're still a couple of chapters away from it, right? But what I want you to think about is they're in this position, and God is doing every bit of this. How? Because they're so wonderful, great, and they're following law and works, and no, He's doing it by grace. He's providing. Why? Because He's promised it. He's saying, I'm going to give you this, and He does it. Not because they've done something, but He's doing it because, in fact, in spite of them doing something. In fact, they're doing the exact opposite thing of what they should be doing. They should be praising the Lord. Instead, they're murmuring, right? Verse 16, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Give of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man, according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tents. So when you take a look at this, he's saying, gather the amount that you need for the number of people in your tent. Right? And that goes back to this where he says, you're going to go out each day, you're going to get the things the number that you need for your particular day, except for the sixth day, you're going to get twice as much. Right? Verse 17, and I like this too. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. Now, what's that mean? That some got more, some less. They're doing it the right way. Some people had more people in their tent, they got more. Some people had fewer people in their tent, they got less, right? So what are they doing? They're doing exactly what God said to do. Go get the number for your particular tent, for your particular house, and take it back. And verse 17 says, And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he had gathered much, had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. So they got exactly what they were supposed to do. Did they have everything provided for them? Exactly what they needed. Now, what's interesting is when we talk about grace today is, when we think of grace, it's not just all that God's been able to do for us, but it's more than what God should be giving us, right? We look at grace, and every time we look at grace, we look at that issue of abundance, the abounding grace. And what's interesting is every time you go through and you see grace, and we even see it with the fishes and loaves in Matthew, we talked about that when we were going through that. What did you find out about both events when they fed 5,000 and 3,000 with the fishes and loaves? how much did they have left over? They had lots left over, right? And so then that's that issue of abundance. Here, what do they have? They have exactly what they need, right? And they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing based on what? What God said, right? Did Moses write this down for them at this particular time? Say, okay, let's go read this together. He's relaying God's information to them. What are they doing? They're responding to what God said. They're listening to what God's word is. Now, verse 20. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. So, what's interesting is again, they got exactly what they needed, but was there extra left over every day? Notice again in verse 20, notwithstanding they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms. Were there people that didn't get what they were supposed to get? And it was left over, and what happened to it? Worms got at it. And it smelled bad, right?
So
Some did not go get enough. Some didn't get what they were supposed to do. So you had some that were doing what? Following what God said, and you had some that did what? Wasn't listening to Him. Such as it is today, right? And it's the same thing. And you see there it says, notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses. Notice in verse 19, and Moses said, let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. When the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, what did they do? They gathered twice as much like they were supposed to. Now again, did everybody do it? Obviously not. But there were, remember, when we look at that, there's a lot of them that just still wanted to complain, right? Verse 23, and he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath. Bake that which ye will bake today, that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to keep until the morning. Now, if there was some left over till the morning before, what happened? Worms got it, it smelled, dried up, and it melted away. Here, he's saying, gather up enough for today and for tomorrow morning, because he's not going to want them to work on that next morning. But what is it that they're doing? Is bake that which ye bake today, and seethe that we will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to keep until the morning. And they laid it up till the morning, and Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And you stop and you think about that. There was stuff left over, worms got it, it smelled bad. This one didn't. And there's something specific. What is it that God's instituting right now for them is the Sabbath day, right? And that's the point of what He's doing here. So here's on this day, as you see in verse 24, and they laid it up till the morning as Moses bade. Again, you stop and you think, why is it that it was able to stay till the next morning? Because they're doing exactly what God says, and God's doing something very specific to them. And the point of it is to let them know that He is what? I am the Lord thy God. Verse 25. And Moses said, eat that today, for the day is a Sabbath day unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it. But on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. So, what does that tell us about on the 6th day? Did everybody go out and get what they were supposed to do? even though Moses told them, said, you got to go get twice as much today. That way you've got it for next week, and you're good to go. Here, what happens is there's some people that just do what? They run out looking, and what are they going to do? They're going to murmur. They're going to complain. You've given us food every day, and now today you don't. They're not. And again, as you saw that back there, verse 17 says, and the children of Israel did so. Other ones we get over here and we find out that there's some that did not do so. Right? And notice in verse 27, and it came to pass that there went some out of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? Now stop and think about, what is it that he's given them as far as a commandment and the law so far? Huh? When to gather it? When to rest. Now, of course, we can think back. With Adam, God said, you can eat of anything except this one tree. And what's Adam and Eve do? They go get the tree, the fruit off of it. And then, of course, consequences come and all that. They had one thing to do. In fact, they were given everything else out there that they could eat, except for one thing. He says, don't eat it. And that's the one that they choose to do. Here, they've gotten two things, right? Go get it on the days. On the sixth day, get twice as much, and then rest. That's all they had to do. And he says, and God says to him, and the Lord said, how long refuse ye? Notice the ye there. This is a national thing, right? Everybody is as this particular nation, the congregation there, the children of Israel. To keep my commandments and my laws. See for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord commanded, fill an omer of it to keep it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. There's some really interesting things with that. But notice, he says, what are they to do with it? This is the thing which the Lord commanded, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. What are they doing there? Huh? They're going to keep a piece of it. And what's the purpose of it? To show the next generation, and all that. So you stop and you think about that. You had manna one day that the worm gets to, and it smells and it dries up and melts. Then there's a specific one for the sixth day where it doesn't happen, and they're able to do the things they're supposed to do with it on that Sabbath day. Here you've got some, he says, put in an omer and keep it for generations, so that they could see this is what God gave us. Now, how long is that manna going to be able to last? Should be able to last forever, at least the next generation, right? But the point of it is kept for your generations, like plural, right? So this is something that they should be able to look at, and it's going to remind them of what? Being brought out of Egypt.
Actually good for that period of time, or is it just?
I would assume so. I would assume it would have been good, because that's the point, right? Because God's keeping it available for them. As go back to what Mark said earlier about a sign. When they look at, and we talked about when they perform the Passover, and the children say, well, why are we doing this? And they say, well, because it's a reminder of what God did for us to bring us out of Egypt. When they do the unleavened bread, well, why do we do this? And it's going to be a reminder of when God brought them out of Egypt. This right here, this would be something that that they would have, and it would be a reminder of not just God bringing them out of Egypt, but God doing what? Providing for them as He brought them out. Right? Now, what's interesting is I've got a note here that it's gone by 2 Kings, and it will be found in the tribulation period. Now, why I wrote that, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll go and search that out. But the manna that they have, or what they have here in their Omer, is gone by 2 Kings, but it'll be found during the tribulation period. So then when they find it in the tribulation period, the point there is, what are they going to notice? They're going to remember God brought them out of Egypt, took care of them. So during the tribulation period, when God says, I'm going to take care of you and prepare food for you and take you out in the wilderness in the middle of the tribulation period out there in the mountain, and I provide food for you, I'm going to provide for you just as I did back here. All right. Now, I'll go back and study why I wrote that, but at one point I knew it. Yep. Yep. Yeah, because you're just supposed to stay in there. In fact, you're not supposed to do anything, right? Later on, he adds on to it. It's like can't start a fire and all that stuff, right? So this is just you wouldn't leave your place on that seventh day. Just like He's built in a day off for them, right? To show them, because what that's supposed to point to is what? The 6 days of creation, on the seventh day you rested. Right, so it's going to point them to that. So yeah, there would be, I would say that they wouldn't leave their tents at all. That would be the point. And what happens is some of them did leave their tents to go look for the stuff, and they didn't believe what God said, right? Verse 33, and Moses said unto Aaron, take a pot and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. Now, aren't you glad you got to the very end and he told you what an omer was? So when you take a look at this, what you're looking at is this is God providing for the nation of Israel. Of course, they're not a nation yet, and I keep saying that. But He's providing for the congregation of the children of Israel. Now, when you think of a congregation, what do you normally think of? What's one word that you think of when you think of congregation? Huh? Gathering. What else? Group of people. What else? Huh? Students. Okay. When you think, so all that together, I mean, all those would be right. So the idea of the gathering and the group of people and the students there, when you think of a congregation, also think of a church, right? Which is all that stuff. Because part of what they're doing, they're gathering, they're a group of people. They're set apart for a particular reason. They're supposed to be learning some stuff. So then you've got, there's 3 churches in the Bible: the church in the wilderness, the church at Pentecost, and the body of Christ church. So those are things that we can kind of see too. But when he's talking to the congregation of the children of Israel, what he's doing is he's showing, I told you I'm going to bring you out of Egypt, and I did that. I took you out from underneath Egyptian slavery through the plagues and all that stuff, and I brought you out. I showed you the path along the way. I got you to the Red Sea. I opened it up and brought you through, and brought the water back down on everybody in Egypt that was there. and I brought you through, and I've provided all the way, and I'm providing here the food and the water and meat all the way through here. And how long is it that he feeds them? Is for, according to verse 35, is for 40 years. Now you stop and you think. In 40 years' time, you would probably get to the point you're kind of like, you know what? We can probably trust this guy. But what do? I mean, they're even up at the very beginning, they don't. But 40 years, and of course 40 years is the point of testing. And what is it that he was doing this for? As we saw, it was to do what? To prove them. Back in verse 4, then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. The law there is what? Go get what you're supposed to get for your house only. On the sixth day, get twice as much. That's it. And a lot of them, we see as we go through there, there's some that don't. And they're going to be sitting back there and they're going to be murmuring even more, right? Now again, he does that for 40 years until they came to the land inhabited. Verse 35, they did eat manna until they came into the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah.
When they take the pot and put an omer full of manna there and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than one generation.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have covered after they entered the promised land also.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, because that's the point, right? To be kept for their generations, because it's going to be not just one, but it's going to keep going. It was because it's going to be a sign to them, right? To remind them that God not only brought them out of Egypt, but He also provided for them the entire time. All right. Oh yeah. Some did. I'm sure some did during that 40-year period of time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And He still did it. Yep. And He gave him a choice. You go out there and get what you're supposed to every day, or you don't. Now, my question would be is, after that first week, and you don't have anything on that Sabbath day, are you going to start doing what you're supposed to do that following day or not? Right? So I would hope so. Whether or not they did, I don't know. But we know that there are some that didn't do it. At least that one time. I don't know if there's. I don't see anything else there that says that they. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when he talks about, where was it? Verse 31, he says, "And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and taste of it was like wafers made with honey." Huh? Yeah. Well, angel's food, some might call it that. But I mean, the thing is I don't know if that would be. I don't know if I would say that wouldn't be like obviously He's going to take him to the place that's flowing with milk and honey and all that stuff. But even here, I don't know if I would say that it wasn't the best, because it was the best that they needed at that time. Yeah. So I don't know if I'd say, well, He's just holding off to show Himself up a little bit later on. I don't know. No. So I mean, even then, like the point would be is He's provided it every day, right? And that's the point. Yeah.
So you think that the owners are just like not sending one out while we use time, but like they're just like getting on
They are hidden.
Because I assume they wouldn't transport to heaven.
No. So it would probably, along with like the Ark of the Covenant and all that other stuff too, it would be hidden. Especially, I mean, you think about all that stuff. If somebody found it right now, what would they do with it? They'd mark it off, turn it into a shrine, and charge people to come look at it, right? And that's not what God's wanting it for. He's wanting it for the people during the tribulation period, so it would remind them that he took care of them during that wilderness time, and He's going to do the exact same thing out there. Perhaps, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I wrote that down years ago. I wish I'd have made more notes on it, but yeah. Huh. Yeah. I mean, it like I said, it's gone by 2 Kings, but it's hidden, and it's going to be found in the tribulation period. And the people will know where to go. I think that would be a thing God would show them where that would be.